Okay, Derbyites, welcome back to Gold Derby's viewing panels. We are going to talk today about the race for supporting actor in a miniseries or a movie. The six nominees are, we have four guys from the Normal Heart. We have Matt Balmer, we have Joe Manganiello. Am I pronouncing that right? Manganiello?
Joe Mantello.
Thank you, Joe Mantello. And we have Jim Parsons, and we have Alfred Molina. And then we also have from Fargo, Colin Hanks, and from Sherlock, we have Martin Freeman. So, Daniel, size this up for us. What's your order of 1 through 6? Who do you think could win this thing, and who do you think has no shot?
I think Bomer, in all likelihood, has this. So I have him in my number one spot. I think most of us probably do. In number two, I've got Martin Freeman though, and not just because of Sherlock, because people voting in this category and also in lead actor, they'll they'll have probably seen both Sherlock and Fargo, so that could give him maybe a slight bump in one category or the other. The fact that that they can essentially give him some votes for both roles, since he's nominated twice. And then I've got Jim Parsons. I'm also a little bit worried about him if voters decide, just to go on familiarity, and we know they've done that before. They could just say, "Hey, I like Jim Parsons in this thing, so let's vote for him in this other thing." That could absolutely happen. So I have him in third. I think those are the ones who really have a shot. After that, I've got Joe Mantello in fourth, Colin Hanks in fifth, and Alfred Molina in sixth. I don't think Molina has much of a chance for that role if voters actually watch the film.
But you predicted all four of those guys from Normal Heart, right?
Yeah. This is one of the few categories I predicted top to bottom, all six.
Oh, wow. And so, Riley, what's your order 1 through 6?
So I've got Bomer, Freeman. Freeman, I agree, he might be helped by his appearance in Fargo, and also like his performance in Sherlock is an acclaimed one as well. Like he did win a BAFTA a couple of years ago. In third, I have Joe Mantello, who did get a Tony nomination for The Normal Heart, although he had a different role in it. Fourth, I have Jim Parsons. Fifth, I have Colin Hanks. I was pretty surprised to see him nominated. I thought that he was kind of too young for the category. In a lot of these movie miniseries categories, they tend to just go with a veteran. I thought that maybe we'd see a John Goodman or Frank Langella again in here. And sixth, I have Alfred Molina, who was a surprise to me as well.
So yeah, I also have Matt Balmer in first place. I think, I don't like to say that races are over or things are slam dunks because we always have surprise winners, but I think he's a safe bet, I would say, for the Emmy Award. He just won the Critics' Choice Award a couple months ago. Second place, even though I butchered his name, I have Joe Mantello in second place. He has that great speech, toward the end of the movie in that workroom, and we all know how much Emmy voters love their speeches. Third place, I have Jim Parsons. I actually have Alfred Molina in fourth. So in other words, I have all four Normal Heart people, 1 through 4. I just think it's going to be one of those guys, so I'm hedging my bets by putting them in the first four places. Fifth place, I have Martin Freeman, and sixth place, even though I loved Fargo, I think Colin Hanks. I think his nomination was the win for him. Would you guys, do you guys think that anyone other than a Normal Heart person could really win this? I mean, I know you have Freeman, I think in your second place spots, but it's going to be Matt Balmer, right?
Well, it's interesting looking at last year's. Like last year, Zachary Quinto we thought might have had a chance to beat James Cromwell after he won the Critics' Choice Award. But James Cromwell, Tom Berenger, Guy Pearce, David Strathairn, Ken Howard, Tom Wilkinson, Jeremy Irons, Paul Newman, like it seems to almost always go to the veterans. This year we don't really have one though, so maybe that's why Matt Bomer is able to cruise to victory.
Yeah, I agree with that. The veteran vote is always a dangerous one to watch out for, and Matt Bomer doesn't have to worry about that this year. I mean, there are some relative veterans like Alfred Molina, but being in the same film actually I think helps Matt Bomer because the voters are watching that thing. I don't think there's going to be much logic to anyone watching that film and ranking Alfred Molina's performance ahead of Bomer's. So then I guess the only veteran would be Joe Mantello, who who's really more of a stage veteran than a TV veteran. He's not very well known in the TV industry. So, Bomer really lucked out with this field that he's not up against, an Ellen Burstyn. Ellen Burstyn is not a man. That's the best thing that happened to Matt Bomer in this category.
And of course, at Gold Derby, we love talking about things like slap the stud syndrome, or if you're like a good-looking actor, you get nominated a lot, but you never win. And we have a whole photo gallery on this. It's actually really interesting to look through it and see all of the the male stars that have been nominated but not actually won. I think Bomer will be an exception there. I think because in this role he basically uglifies himself. He does what Matthew McConaughey did last year for his Oscar-winning movie Dallas Buyers Club. He contracts a very, very bad disease. He starts getting boils on his face, and he looks really bad in the film, and I think that will be an excuse for voters to be like, oh, okay, he's not good looking in this film, so I'll give it to him now.
Yeah, I was going to add, I think an exception to the slap the stud rule is if you're dying of AIDS. So.
Yeah. And it's so funny that, Matthew McConaughey and Matt Bomer will both be at the Emmy Awards. So if Bomer wins, he should really go thank Matthew McConaughey for trailblazing this, this type of role, the AIDS victim winning awards.
And it's the only real physical transformation in this category, and I agree that is an exception usually to the slap the stud rule that we see, and not just with Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto losing a lot of weight for Dallas Buyers Club, but we also saw it with George Clooney gaining a lot of weight in Syriana. Same with in sort of the opposite side with women, we saw Charlize Theron win for completely transforming herself. Like voters, Hollywood voters tend to like performers that show that they don't have vanity, that they put their art ahead of their vanity, and are willing to get really down and dirty for a role. And Bomer is really the only significant physical complete transformation in this category.
So I'm looking at Gold Derby's combined odds, where we combine experts, editors, and users, and then the top 24 users from last year. Bomer's winning there; he's in first place, and then Martin Freeman in second place. And then let me see where it goes from there. Oh, Joe Mantello is in third place. Colin Hanks is actually in fourth, and then Jim Parsons, and then Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina really didn't have a lot to do in No Normal Heart. His nomination was kind of a surprise for me, but what's this Jim Parsons thing? He could possibly win 2 Emmys because he's also up for Big Bang Theory, but he doesn't really have a shot here, does he?
Well, does he get to play drunk or play the banjos?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't want to say that he was, the one of the weak links in Normal Heart, but he wasn't one of the standouts. I'll say it that way. That's a nicer way to say it. He wasn't one of the standouts in that movie, and I think it'll go to his co-star Matt Bomer.
What about the speech factor?
I disagree a little bit. No, go ahead, Riley.
Oh, so you go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to say that Jim Parsons, he played this role on Broadway. The role has been greatly expanded. I think he probably has the third most screen time, maybe after Mark Ruffalo and Matt Bomer. He might even be comparable to Matt Bomer because Matt Bomer doesn't have the scenes in actual gay men's health crisis group because he's not technically a part of that group actively. So I really think Jim Parsons is one of the highlights of the film. He's one of the most prominent supporting performers, and he's got the change of pace. He doesn't have the physical transformation that Matt Bomer does, but you've got Emmy voters who are probably very used to seeing him as wacky Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory. Maybe haven't seen him in a dramatic role at all. And here he comes. He's got this really strong dramatic role, which includes a speech or two, including this one great eulogy scene during a funeral. So I wouldn't count him out. I'd say if someone from Normal Heart beats Bomer, it's probably going to be Parsons.
kind of grasping at straws here, but going back to Colin Hanks, if voters are watching the tapes, he doesn't actually appear in the first episode, I think, until like 40 minutes into it or something. So that'll hurt him. If they're watching just the normal heart, then obviously, everybody shows up in the first 20 minutes or whatever, and then they see their entire performance. Whereas Colin Hanks, he doesn't really have a lot to do until more the middle of Fargo.
That's a great point. Yeah. It's like how much of these miniseries are voters actually watching? We know they've probably seen Fargo already because it got a boatload of Emmy nominations, and we know they've seen American Horror Story Coven, but when they sit down to judge performances, are they watching all 13 episodes? I don't think so. I think maybe they're going to watch the first one, like you mentioned, or maybe the first DVD, which might have 4 episodes or so on it.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, what about the speech factor? Like, who would you say has the best speech in The Normal Heart?
I think it's Mantello. His is the speech that really stuck with me after I watched it. That's why I actually have him in second place, just for the speech.
Yeah, Mantello definitely has the speech. I don't think Matt Bomer really has a big speech. He has some strong, intense deathbed scenes towards the end of the film, but it's not what I would characterize as a big kind of acting speech. The kind that that we're talking about, that Mantello gets, that Jim Parsons gets to a more subdued extent. At the funeral. So yeah, if it's speech to speech, that's definitely Mantello.
Right. All right. Well, we're going to sign off on this one, and then we're going to come back in a few minutes for supporting actress in a miniseries movie. So stick with us.